不喜欢摆地摊这个词，而是应该变成室外经营和有序占道经营，尤其是激活夜经济方面。
这个小区的住在小区的这个几楼的穿的绿色的裤子，那个紫黑色的那个衣服的小孩子是哪一层的孩子啊？家长在哪里呀？
本台今天播发国际锐评：美国政客退群示威的行径是损人害己的自残。锐评指出，不合无意就退群是美国政府近年来在国际社会的一贯套路。全球合作的潮流浩浩汤汤，世卫组织并不会因为美国的退出而停止运转，但美国民众的生命则会因美国政客疯狂、短视、自私的决定而面临更大的危险。
我们看到现在是在佛山的最中心祖庙位置，它的商业圈会是什么样的状态？现在是下午的2点，这个也是倒下了出租，那应该是没拆迁，还是在出租。这里也是有卖童装的，还有卖其他的，但是这可能是一角吧。我们去最高大厦看一下。我们现在上的是3楼的铺位，就已经控制率很高了。我们可以看一下，这些位置是没有突出的。
呀妈的，你别是那。
Well, look, yesterday I think you saw the two alternative futures for America. In the launch in Cape Kennedy, you saw the opportunities of America leading the fourth industrial revolution. American capital, American workers, American made. And late at night, you saw what could happen of breaking down to anarchy and racial division. This is all incumbent. You talk about law and order. It's law and order predicated upon a robust economy. And this means American capital brought back to America to stop financing our enemies, bring American capital back for American jobs through American companies. That will make America the leader in the fourth industrial revolution. That is what this country needs. That's what the millennials need. I think yesterday's a great juxtaposition. We have two alternatives. And as Donald Trump says, nothing's inevitable. It's going to be human action and human agency that does that. I think it's now time to get focused on American jobs and bringing high value added manufacturing jobs back to the American people. If you do that, you're not going to have these problems in these cities. People are going to be too busy to do this. They're going to be too busy working great jobs with overtime that can support families and have a career, have a future. Look, Senator Rubio and National Security Advisor O'Brien this morning showed that they've got their social media trying to stir things up here among these anarchists. Okay, it's very simple. Donald Trump went to the Rose Garden the other day. This is what the Chinese Communist Party has done as Hong Kong is Czechoslovakia in 1938. We're at a seminal moment. We're at a crossroads. We either stand these guys down now or we're going to be inexorably drawn into a kinetic war in 3 or 4 years. We have to stop them now. Donald Trump's the hammer. American capital and American technologies, the anvil. We must, and I appreciate the Secretary. He's been the best Secretary of State in living memory. But the measured response is this. No access to American capital. No access to American technology. The Chinese Communist Party is an enemy to their people. They're an enemy to the people of the United States. They're an enemy to mankind. They have shown this by how they've done what they did on this pandemic. It's outrageous. Here's what has to happen. We have many different bills up, but we have every ability to cut them off from delisting and deregistering American companies, get them out of these indexes, get them out of these ETFs. Also, sanction the banks in Hong Kong. Sanction the banks. Cut them off from any dollar-denominated transactions. Start to use the Majinsky Act against their senior people. And we have these bonds that they owe the American people, these railroad bonds, $1 trillion.
The protests in the US have now spread to Europe, to Berlin, and also to Britain, where 23 people were arrested, 3 for allegedly attacking the protesters in London. What is it that they actually want?
To legitimate protesters in America who are protesting against his killing. But what they're also doing is excusing or even justifying some of the looting that we've seen. And, there are few people I disrespect more than middle-class leftists, university-educated anarchists, which most of these protesters in London were. Those kinds of people, when they justify looting that causes serious economic harm to poor black communities, I think that's really actually quite nauseating. And they're offering these convoluted justifications for what is an incredibly destructive form of behavior. And we've all seen videos of black people in the US saying, please stop destroying our communities. I think it's incredibly irresponsible.
Amid steadily rising tensions, the U.S. Secretary of State says China is using the tactical situation on the ground to its advantage, as seen with China's border with India. Speaking with Fox News, Washington's top diplomat Mike Pompeo said the Chinese Communist Party has been making such efforts for a long time and that General Xi Jinping is intent on building out his military capabilities. Pompeo added that the State Department is doing everything to make sure that it understands this threat. He also said he is confident that the U.S. national security establishment will keep it in a position to protect Americans while staying good partners with South Korea, India, Australia, and others.
Chinese Communist Party had entered into agreement with the United Kingdom that they would allow Hong Kong to have autonomy for 50 years. Halfway through it or so, they've now broken those commitments, those promises that they made to the world. The United States had a series of preferences. We treated Hong Kong more favorably than we did China for all of those years because of that treaty. The Chinese Communist Party has now broken its promise, and the United States will respond. As a practical matter, the president laid out a couple of things that we'll do. He's asked us to review every preferential treatment that Hong Kong had and work to eliminate it. No longer makes sense. If the Chinese are going to treat Hong Kong the same way that they treat mainland China, there's no basis for the United States to treat it differently as well. Second, the president made clear that we're going to look at a number of things. We're going to look at Chinese students who are studying here, who have connections to the military-civil fusion projects inside of China. And we're simply not going to let them come study here if they're threatening to take American technology and transfer it into Chinese People's Liberation Army. And then, too, he made very clear we're going to take a look at whether we ought to go and sanction individuals who destroyed this freedom inside of Hong Kong.
The United States Navy is planning to return to its former base in the Philippines under a commercial deal, the Philippine Navy chief said on Sunday, May 10, after an American equity firm and an Australian shipbuilder expressed keen interest in taking over the Subic shipyard from a bankrupt South Korean company. Said the two companies are in the final stages of negotiations with the Philippine government and several banks to take over the operations of Hanjin.
You know, people from all across the country are looking in. This is the time we look to our leader. We want this to stop. How does the president fix this?
Yeah, this president has been very clear that we need law and order in this country. He's taken extraordinary action, talking about activating the National Guard, as we saw happen in Minnesota, criminalizing interstate travel that is geared towards inciting violence, making sure that those individuals are prosecuted, labeling Antifa as a domestic terrorist entity that will be prosecuted as such. This president's taken bold action. This is the law and order president. Going back to his convention speech, he's always been about law and order in this country, and he's taking every single possible action to ensure that our streets are safe. Because what this does, this demeans the peaceful protesters who have a legitimate grievance when we see angry mob mentality take over and those horrific images of businesses burning and fires in the streets of this country.
They try to instigate additional violence, so that becomes the issue.
And what they also do is, and here's the thing, I don't like this narrative that's being portrayed right now that it's just these middle class white Antifa people. What they also do is they spread that behavior to others of all stripes, and people who had never been involved with Antifa before, people who had never marched side by side with them, people who had never graffitied buildings or thrown bricks through windows. Their job is to recruit and embolden others to do the same.
There also David Horowitz, who was in Occupy Unmasked, he said, because he was a revolutionary during the 60s, he came in as a Marxist. He was one of these guys with the Black Panthers and the Students for Democratic Society. He was a hardcore leftist. His point, the most chilling line in the entire film of Occupy Unmasked, he says what their motto is: the issue of the revolution is the revolution. The issue of the revolution is the revolution. There is nothing you can go down to the Antifa guys today. There's no set of issues. There's no set of issues that you can sit there and talk to them about. There'll be other issues. The point of the Antifa is the revolution. Let's bring in Jim Schultz now, former of the White House counsel's office and one-time contributor to CNN. Although I don't see a lot of Jim, I don't see a lot of your mug on CNN anymore. They can't say this about pandemic. Now it should be your wheelhouse. When are you going to get back on CNN? Do we have Jim? Okay, Vish, let's go on top of this.
But Jim doesn't have us.
Okay, let's go to.
Let me do a little bit of more of an explainer here, because in fact I was kind of hoping that would happen, so I'd get a little bit more mic time, because this is important about what we're seeing in terms. You say organization. And, you know, Madeline Peltz at Media Matters, who's listening to this today, and CNN, whose news roundup I listened to this morning, they say things unqualified, such as Antifa is a liberal-leaning, non-organization organization. And, in fact, if we have time while we're trying to get Jim, Greg, I have that clip, the tweet I sent you from this morning, of what happens when you ask Alexa for the news this morning and what the CNN feed through Amazon's Alexa service is telling people about Antifa. Do we have that clip?
To the widespread protests, President Trump has said the United States will designate Antifa as a terrorist organization. Antifa, which stands for anti-fascist, is a broad, decentralized group of people with liberal-leaning beliefs. Experts say the government has no existing
liberal-leaning
beliefs.
No, I think we need to mail her a copy of Animal Farm or something, because not everything on the left is liberal.
Yeah. Well, there's also some very interesting breaking news coming out of New York right now. The Deputy Commissioner for Intel and Counterterrorism, John Miller, said there is a high level of confidence within the NYPD that these unarmed groups had organized scouts, medics, and supply routes of rocks, bottles, and accelerants for breakaway groups to commit vandalism and violence.
现在我发现任何人攻击我中国人，我都受不了。你们只有一个敌人，共产党。如果你不攻共产党的话，你攻击任何海外的中国人，都不是爆料革命的战友，啊，用不着你攻，啊，海外的华人。 你包括那梁冠金那个王八蛋，那是典型的，还有那个叫周什么那个货，还有派杀手去杀我那货，他在大街上被摁倒揍，我一定是帮他去打别人去，啊，因为这是个起码的一个人性。他好他坏，很大原因，我说包括这些孩子在海外，他们100%都是受害者，包括那小粉红。如果从小开始成长，是一个有文明的、有法治的。 健康的一个环境，他不会变成那个小粉红，都是共产党的牺牲品。我们干嘛对他来劲啊？你对共产党来劲去呗！啊！我再重申一遍，亲爱的兄弟，我求求大家了，爆料革命的战友们，你们要不砸共产党，你谁都别砸了。主流共产党上厕所时间砸欺民贼，我们来自中国，中国是我们的爹。 黄皮肤是我们的娘，严格讲，走到海外，所有的华人，我们共同的爹，共同的娘，爹就是国，娘就是黄皮肤，你改变不了。没事的战友，你不灭共，你不揭发共产党，你不搞冠状病毒，你不为香港发声，你替香港孩子发声，你就不要砸别人。我只要发现谁砸别人，爆料我一定出来阻止你。